I recently took a trip to Georgia. I stopped at a couple of pawn shops and a CD warehouse. It's quite a haul. Let's get into it. First up, this was a Pawn USA in Valdosta, Georgia. I paid $20.01 for 11 titles. That brings them out to $1.21 each. First, we've got Peninsula. This is the sequel to Train to Busan. Not as good as Train to Busan, which is a great zombie movie. This is more of like a, I don't know, hold your ground kind of zombie movie. I don't know. It's just, it's missing a little bit once you take the train out of the situation, but it's still a fun action movie. I enjoyed it. And since I love Train to Busan, even if Peninsula isn't my favorite, I decided that I might as well add it to the collection and maybe give it a second shot somewhere down the line. If I ever decide that I want to sell this Train to Busan sequel, it typically sells for about $5 on eBay. Next, we've got Ran, the Akira Kurosawa classic. This is from the Studio Canal collection. I'm pretty sure there's a Criterion release of this title as well. I don't have that, so I'm going to have to settle for this for now, although I will get my hands... with digital code. Yeah, I will get my hands on the Criterion Collection version of Ran at some point. For now, I just got to stick with this Lionsgate Studio Canal Collection release. No idea how the transfer is. I've never actually seen this movie, and I always said if I ever owned it, I would watch it. And so I guess I got to watch it. This title runs on eBay for about $7, and I'm adding it to the collection. Next is an A24 movie that I love. This is Lean on Pete. It came out a couple of years ago. It's based on a novel and stars Charlie Plummer, Chloe Sevigny, and Steve Buscemi. And if you love horse movies, you gotta see this one for sure. This is a great movie featuring a horse and some great acting. Like I said, it's an A24 movie, so if you already know, then you know. It's not going to be a traditionally told film. They're going to take a couple of chances. It might work for you. It might not. Oh, with digital code. Yeah, Lean on Pete. As far as A24 movies go, Lean on Pete is probably one of the most feel-goodiest that they have out there, but it's great. It's definitely worth your time, especially if you're a fan of any of those three actors or horse movies in general. Here we've got a 3-pack of Goonies, Gremlins, and Gremlins 2, 3 classic 80s movies. I already own Goonies and Gremlins on 4K, and I also have this set in order to have Gremlins 2 as well. This triple pack collection only runs about $6 on eBay, but I picked it up to probably give it away as a gift at some point in the future. And this is the Sun, Sand, and Sweat 4-movie collection. You've got Private Resort, Perfect, Hard Bodies, and Spring Break. I think these are all 80s movies. I don't really know. That one's 1983, 85, 84, and 85. Yep, all mid-80s beach comedies. They're all rated R as well, so if you know 80s beach comedies, there's probably a little bit of nudity in these, I would guess. Not to be a prude, but probably just a little bit of nudity. Perfect evidently stars John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis, so that's a cast for sure. Johnny Depp is in Private Resort. Don't recognize any of these names from Spring Break or Hard Bodies, but I know Hard Bodies is definitely a stone cold classic. I'm not sure I've seen any of these, and so I thought it might be fun to pick it up and check a couple of them out. If I decide to keep it, then so be it. It's a nice little 4-pack of films to add to the collection. If I decide to sell it, it runs about $7 on eBay, and at minimum, I will get my money back and then some to help pay for some of the other titles I plan on keeping. And finally, for this pawn shop, this is Benny and June again with the Johnny Depp, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Aidan Quinn. Probably one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies. The case, it leaves a little bit to be desired. I don't know if you can see, but there's a couple pock marks right there. But it doesn't look like it's affected the paper insert at all, so I'll probably just replace the case at some point. But yeah, I love this movie. Johnny Depp is just being a weirdo like he normally is in most of his movies, certainly around this time. I'm not sure it's necessarily a movie made for me, but I do love it, probably because it came out when I was getting into movies. It also happens to hold a decent value as Blu-rays go. This one fetches about $10 on eBay, and I'm adding it to the collection. Next, we have TBG Goods from Gainesville, Florida. I paid $9 for 11 titles, bringing them out to 81 cents each. Let's go. First up, Stonehurst Asylum, starring Kate Beckinsale, Jim Sturgis, Brendan Gleeson, Ben Kingsley, and Michael Caine. From the mind of Edgar Allan Poe, I literally know nothing about this movie, but I was impressed by the cast. It's probably awful, but I can't resist with that cast. I have to check it out. And for 81 cents, it wasn't a huge roll of the dice. It only fetches about $4 on eBay. For now, I'm adding it to the shelf until I get a chance to watch it. And then after that, I'll decide whether it stays or goes. Another title that's worth about $4. This is Guillermo del Toro Presents The Orphanage, directed by J.A. Boyena. This is on my friend's top 100 list, and I've never seen it before. At one point, I actually owned this, a used copy, just like this one. It sat on my shelf forever, and I gave it to him as a Christmas gift at some point, and I still hadn't watched it. This case, I really hate these recycling cases. They feel like crap. This is a double-side printed insert, and yet they've got it in a recycled case. I need to replace this case anyway. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but it's all chipped up across the top here. I mean, it's a functional case, certainly. It's definitely got a little bit of wear and tear on it, but the insert looks all right. There's a little blemish right there that I could probably buff out. So I'm going to re-add this to the shelf, and maybe someday I will finally get to watch it. In fact, I'm going to commit now. In 2023, I'm going to watch The Orphanage one way or another. I cannot be stopped. Here we've got a Blu-ray double feature of The Specialist and Tango and Cash, one starring Sylvester Stallone, the other Kurt Russell, and she got Sharon Stone in that Specialist film. Longtime viewers of this channel know that I love my 2-packs, and I did not have this one on the shelf yet. This one definitely has some issues. You can actually see where the insert is all busted right there. But I mean, what can you expect for 81 cents? It's also dirty and really scuffed up. I'm going to have to replace this case because it's disgusting. Let's just say that. All pockmarked on the back. With digital code. It's gross, but the films are there. The Specialist, Tango and Cash, 2 more titles added to the shelf. Yet another collection. This is the 4 Films favorite comic collection. I paid 81 cents for this. 4 movies, Watchmen Director's Cut, Jonah Hex, The Losers, and A History of Violence in one nice, tidy, space-saving collection that I paid 81 cents for. I love Blu-ray hunting sometimes. That's a good movie. That's a good movie. This is a okay movie, and Jonah Hex is awful. I've seen it once, but I wouldn't mind watching it again just for the heck of it. Not much to look at on the back, and there's your titles. These are basically double stacked. So underneath here, you got The Watchmen, and then under The Losers, you got A History of Violence. Yeah, I own a bunch of these 4 film collections, and did not own this one, and now I do, adding it to the shelf. Another title with a really banged up case. This is The Greatest Story Ever Told, a George Stevens production. I don't know much about this movie, but I'm guessing it's about Jesus. It's an MGM release. What year was this? This was released in 1965. Yeah, I've definitely heard of this movie, but I've never seen it, nor do I know anybody that's seen it. So I figured it's a classic film. It's on Blu-ray. It's 81 cents. Even though it needs a new case, it was worth a roll of the dice. Right now, I'm going to add it to the shelf. So I'm going to give it a shot. If I enjoy it, I'll keep it. And if I don't, it fetches about $7 on eBay, so I shouldn't have a problem reselling it to help pay for some of the titles in this haul I plan on keeping. Next up, we've got Cape Fear, the Martin Scorsese classic starring Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, and Jessica Lange, from the director of The Departed. Another one with a really busted up case. You can kind of see the crack right there. It doesn't shut at all. It's got writing on the inside. This one is just completely unsalvageable. I'm going to have to replace this case. I love this movie as well. I'm going to have to see if I can get that writing off the disc itself without taking that blue off. That'll be a challenge for sure. I'm excited to own it in Blu-ray and give it a rewatch. I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times in my life, but it has been quite a while. If you want to pick up your own copy used on eBay, you're going to need to spend about $8 added to the collection. And finally, for this pawn shop, I've got Fright Night, starring Anton Yelchin and Colin Farrell. I've only seen this movie once. I enjoyed it in theaters, but it's been a while. I don't really remember much about it. I do know that I've never seen this in a pawn shop. Again, another case that just has issues. Like it won't really shut. It's a little off center as far as the snaps go, so they won't completely shut. I'm probably going to have to replace this case as well. This fetches about $9 on eBay, but I'm going to add it to the collection. And finally, from a really good deal, 81 cents per title, to one where I kind of paid a premium for titles that I want to keep. For those of you who've watched my channel for a long time, you know that I typically try to buy like 1 for 1, meaning that if I bring home a pawn shop haul, what I'm trying to do is buy a couple titles that I want to keep and a couple titles that have value that I can resell to pay for the titles I want to keep. Since this was purchased at a CD warehouse and a lot of these titles aren't near as dirt cheap as titles I can find at a pawn shop, I'm basically only buying the ones that I plan on keeping, and really only buying them if I can get them cheaper here than I can on a website like eBay or Amazon, etc. So at this CD warehouse, I paid $103.68 for 12 titles. We'll see if altogether between the two pawn shops and this, I can still make a profit. Let's start going through the 12. First up, we've got Zola. This is another A24 movie. I am still adding movies to my A24 collection. At some point, I'd like to have every A24 movie on physical media. I'm guessing I'm about maybe 50% there. Maybe not quite, just because there's a lot of new releases that I haven't picked up and a lot of old releases that I'm not really looking forward to paying a premium for because they're not really movies I'm not interested in. Such as collecting. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet and buy movies you don't even want for a price you're not really looking for. But Zola is a good movie. It's one I don't mind having on the shelf for sure. Not my favorite A24 movie, not my favorite movie ever, but certainly an interesting movie. And one based on a Twitter thread, believe it or not. It's fun, but pretty raunchy, so be warned. It's worth about $5 on eBay, and I'm going to keep it. Next, we've got Stalag 17, the 1950s war classic, a movie I've seen. It's great. I'm going to have to remove these stickers. I'm pretty sure that's in almost every title. But yeah, I didn't have this classic in my collection. It was there. It was relatively inexpensive compared to eBay, so I picked it up. And now I'm going to put it on my shelf. Next, another classic. This is A Bullet for Joey. This is a Kino Lorber title. A lot of these are going to be titles that I just would never find in a pawn shop. This is definitely one of those. It's a movie I've never seen, but I've heard people talk positively about it. It's also from the 1950s, fairly short, 85 minutes, and I don't know much about it. I'm pretty sure it's like a noir film of some sorts. These might be really easy to take off. They are. Thank you, CD Warehouse. A Bullet for Joey in flawless condition. That's another reason why you'd pay premium from CD Warehouse compared to the 81 cents pawn shop buys. Is pretty much all of these cases are about as flawless as they get when it comes to used copies. This one goes for about $7 on eBay. I'm going to give it a watch and add it to the collection for now. As for whether I'm keeping it long term, we'll see what I think about it after a first time watch. And here we have The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck. It's a basketball movie that really should have been his comeback film, and yet generally it was ignored. Ben Affleck is pretty great in this movie as a basketball coach who's an alcoholic who kind of learns that there's a little more to life than being depressed and drinking all the time. And that's about as simple as the movie is. You should watch it because Ben Affleck is in it and he's doing some of his best dramatic work. So if you're a big fan of him, definitely check it out. This only fetches about $3 on eBay, which is about what I paid for it at CD Warehouse. I want to give it a rewatch someday, so it's hitting the shelf. Honestly, I should have researched this title a little better before I shot this video because I thought this was the original Pusher, but now that I'm looking at it, it looks like Pusher Revendeur. So I don't know if that's just the French word for pusher or if this is like, I know Pusher 1, 2, and 3 was directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, who directed Drive, amongst other things that I enjoy. But the director on the back of this one is not him. So maybe there's a fourth Pusher that I haven't seen that was directed by somebody else, but just produced by Nicholas Winding Refn, the director of Drive. I don't know. Either way, this fetches about $5 on eBay. I thought I was just going to add it to the collection because if it was the original pusher, this is definitely a find. I know it's definitely worth that. I know it's definitely worth $5 or more. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked it up. So yeah, I'm going to have to look into this one. I don't know if it's a watch and resale or a watch and keep or just to keep on the shelf until I finally get tired of looking at it. I don't know quite yet. This one's a big question mark. Next, we've got Speed on 4K, an action classic from the mid-90s and a movie that I love for sure. I recently rewatched this on Blu-ray and it looked amazing. I'm curious to know if it looks all that much better on 4K. Not sure I'm up for rewatching it in total anytime soon, but maybe I'll pop it in and just see if I can tell a difference. Either way, it's a classic movie I had to own on 4K. It fetches about $8 on eBay and I'm adding it to the collection. Next, we've got Personal Shopper on Criterion. Yeah, the CD warehouse definitely had a lot of Criterion collection films, and this was one of them. And this is a movie that I absolutely love, and I was super excited to finally get my hands on. If you've never seen Personal Shopper, definitely check it out. The movie stars Kristen Stewart, and it kind of presents itself as like a quiet drama, but then in the end, it definitely has a hook for those of you horror fans. I mean, I don't know if it's a particularly satisfying horror hook, but it definitely has a hook at the end. It will come out of nowhere, and it absolutely transfixed me. I mean, I could not stop talking about Personal Shopper, and I'm really excited to finally own it and add it to my ever-growing personal Criterion collection. Next, we've got La Dolce Vita, another Criterion Collection film, and this one is out of print and is the rare title that I bought at CD Warehouse that is actually worth considerably more than what I paid for it. I paid $16 for this out-of-print Criterion Collection title, and it regularly fetches around $35 on eBay. I actually already own this title, but my copy is sealed. I'm going to keep this copy for my personal Criterion collection and resell my sealed copy of La Dolce Vita. We'll see if I can get more than $35 for a sealed copy. Regardless, I now have an opened copy. I've never seen this movie. I don't know what it's about. I will watch it someday for sure when I get motivated to watch something in Italian. I imagine that's what language this film is in. I have no clue. It is in Italian with English subtitles. Yeah, someday I'll watch it. Now I own an open copy, so I don't even have to feel guilty when I finally get to watching it. And finally, for the CD warehouse and this entire haul, we've got the Daniel Craig collection in 4K. This is before they added the most recent films. So this is the 4 films before the most recent film. You got the 4Ks, you got the Blu-rays, all 4 of the... with digital code for all 4 movies. Nice. So the first 4 movies, Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace. These are those double stacked discs as well. I'm not going to take the time to pop them out, but it looks like there's 4 discs right there and a little sticker that I'm going to pull off. Let's see if all the Blu-rays are in here as well. Spectre. Hello. That one was not snapped in. Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and Casino Royale. It's all there. As expected. I paid $28 for this, but I am seeing them on eBay for roughly $26. So I got taken by about $2 or so. It was there in front of me, and sometimes you just can't resist the impulse. I picked it up. I'm adding it to the shelf, and someday I imagine I'm going to resell it and upgrade to the full Daniel Craig collection with all 5 of his Bond films. For now, though, I'll just have to be satisfied with the first 4. All right, there we go. 34 titles, total cost of $132.79, and an average per title price of $3.09. Total estimated value for this haul, $202. Not bad. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for your best shot at a free digital code. Shoot the hostage. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.